Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The Scottish Prison Service is still refusing to release all the papers and reasons as to why Adam Graham, a man who committed 2 horrible R's of women, and who now goes by the name of Isla Bryson, was initially sent to a woman's prison. There must have been a reason, but they are refusing to say. I think this may take a lot longer than intended, simply because the people involved are quite embarrassed by it, or they don't want to put their names on it because they may fear retribution, both in the street kind of thing, but also politically. It may damage their careers. But we need to know who did this, who made that decision, and why. It's important because this has directly affected the safety of women, not just women in prison, but women generally in society. Because if people are making these decisions and not saying who they are and why they're making them, then bad decisions will continue to be made. Let's take a look at this article, find out what's going on, and find out why they're not spilling the beans. Here goes. So, Scottish Prison Service refuses to release full reasons behind Isla Bryson's being sent to a female prison. But probably because someone is, like I say, very, very embarrassed and doesn't want to lose their job. The Scottish Government has been caught up in yet another secrecy row surrounding its handling of the case of Isla Bryson, who was initially sent to Cornton Vale. Well, of course, yes, they don't want to admit why they sent this man to a woman's prison. He's now Adam Graham, his real name, before he calls himself Isla Bryson. But we'll still call him Adam Graham. I don't care what we call him. He's always going to be a man. The Scottish Government has been caught up in yet another secrecy row after the Scottish Prison Service, the SPS, refused to release a key document relating to the Isla Bryson scandal. Ministers worked closely with the SPS in the aftermath of the decision, which was met by a massive public outcry. Allegedly it led to the falling down of Sturgeon, but of course she's just using that as the cover. This was her beard to hide away from the true reasons we suspect. The monster, originally named Adam Graham, and strangely still known as Adam Graham, was sentenced to 8 years in prison after being convicted of R-ing 2 women. At his initial hearing, he was sent to Cornton Vale, a female-only institute, and it's nice to see that the newspapers are starting to call him. For a long time, they pandered to his delusion and called him her, but it's obviously not the case. This is because he identified as a woman and started transitioning while on bail so that he could avoid going to a proper hard prison, because he's a bit of a coward. The decision to initially send him to a female prison caused massive controversy, which some critics believe contributed to the resignation of Nicola Sturgeon. No, not really. We know why she was going. Quick phone call from the Chief Constable, Anyway, At says she failed to call him a man or a woman in a series of disastrous interviews. Well, he's a man. There's nothing hard about that. What she was concerned with is calling him a man and then having that 0.1% of people call her an islamophobe. Wow. All of a sudden, so scared. Coward. Anyway, he was quickly moved from Cornton Vale to the men's estate, with the SPS later confirming that it would be making changes how it dealt with transgender prisoners following an outcry. It's simple. You look down the front of the pants, and if they've got a penis, they go in the men's, and if they're a man who doesn't have a penis, they go in the men's. It's as simple as that. Quick blood test, and that should be it. You test the DNA, test the blood, and if they come out as being male by DNA, they go in the male estate. End of story. Anyway, at the moment, the new guidance is still being developed, and the temporary measures mean that no transgender person found guilty of anything against women will be sent to the female estate. It should be no transgenders should be sent to the women's estate. None at all. They all represent a threat. An urgent review into the prison service's handling of the Bryson case was launched. Why are we calling him Bryson, not Graham? The Graham case. We'll call him the Graham case. Which was detailed that at no point were any women in the care of the prison service at risk of harm. Yeah, I bet they're going to say that, but there's no way of guaranteeing it. He said, and this person, I mean him, did not come into contact with any other prisoners during his time. They're pandering to the there, aren't they? At Cornton Vale. But it did not exactly detail how the offender ended up being classified as safe enough to be sent to an institution that houses vulnerable women. This is a man who does terrible things to women, and they said now he's safe enough to put in a room, lock him in overnight with a vulnerable woman. Who made this decision? The Scottish Daily Express attempted to get a copy of the full report to shed more light on the exact circumstances using the Freedom of Information laws, but it was rebuffed. In its response, SPS cited the GDPR rules for not allowing it to be published, even if it was redacted. An official wrote, "On the first point, we have concluded that the content contained within the document falls under GDPR and data protection regulations, and as such, the individuals cited within it would have legal protection, preventing their personal information from being shared in the public domain. We don't need their personal information. We want to know what the decisions were and how those decisions were arrived at. You don't need to dock the person who's in it. We don't need to know, where they live or anything like that. And if it is an official, then we are entitled to know who made the decision. The sharing of these documents, or indeed any of the other content within, would be deemed as circulating publicly and would constitute a breach of the aforementioned regulations." Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. They don't need to release all the information. They just need to release the reasoning why the decision was made. But opposition critics have blasted this response and blamed SNP secrecy for the refusal to publish the information which is in the public interest. Scottish Conservative Shadow Community Safety Minister Russell Findlay told the Scottish Daily Express, "This refusal to tell the public exactly what led to an aura of women being sent to a woman's prison is typical of SNP secrecy. Adam Graham's victims, along with the wider public, are entitled to know what happened and why, and to publish a selective summary of events leaves more questions than answers and inspires zero confidence that any lessons have really been learnt. We have zero confidence in this government, full stop, and there is no reason why a man should ever be sent to a woman's jail unless it is policy. And if it's policy, then you know exactly what they think, the SNP think, of women and women's safety." And there he is, the aura of women, pretending to be a woman so that he can get an easy time in a lady jail. And also more fresh victims. Anyway, I shall round off and come up. The SNP will do anything ever than open up, tell the truth, be transparent about things. The GDPR does not fall under this, because we're not asking for names, we're not asking for individuals, we're asking for the reasons why this was done. You don't have to name the person who took the decision, but you do have to say why the decision was made. And that's not personal knowledge. That is actually important public information that should be in the public domain, that should make sure that the public know, and so that it can't happen again. Why are they so secretive? Well, of course, it's the SNP. They wouldn't tell you what day of the week it was if they could have avoided it, because they've got this culture of secrecy, because everything about them is dodgy. They dare not speak the truth. And I shall finish there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't go to prison, and goodbye.